Hello, poetry lovers. The video tonight shows the creation of a new poem I'm currently calling Birdsong. Stick around to the end of the video to see the complete first draft. This poem was inspired in a couple different ways. I've been creating a lot of short-form content lately about the challenges of being a stay-at-home mom and a poet, and one of the things I've been exploring is the difficulty of inspiration. Most conventional writing advice says you can't wait for inspiration to hit. You have to just write every single day. But right now, it's impossible for me to make time for writing as a daily discipline. Additionally, it's hard for me to catch hold of inspiration when it comes, because I'm so often in the middle of something that I cannot walk away from. But on the morning I wrote this poem, I was inspired. So I tried something new. I let my kids come with me into my office while I wrote. My 7-year-old ended up deciding to go read, but my 4-year-old stayed with me in my office, playing noisily within arm's reach during the entire writing process. I've never written a poem with so much distraction so close at hand. Because of this, getting started was hard. I spent a few minutes helping my daughter learn what I expected and needed in order to write. But finally, I was able to get a start. Once I got going, I still wrote more slowly than usual because I was finding it hard to focus on my thoughts. And this is where the other element of inspiration helped me. I've been reading a lot of Mary Oliver lately. Her poetry is so sparse and beautiful and profound and always makes me wish I could write something like that. And on this morning, when I stepped away from breakfast and went outside to soak in some fresh air, I mentally heard words arranging themselves around the sights and sounds in my backyard in a way that reminded me of Oliver's work. I paused for a moment, considering writing down the phrases I thought of so that I could write later, but I knew doing that meant rolling the dice that eventually this day would present an opportunity to focus. I decided to run with the inspiration instead. But at this point, I started to really struggle. I wasn't sure what the poem was saying, and there was so much distraction around me that I was having a hard time figuring that out. Inspiration for me rarely carries me all the way to a poem's completion, so as I wrote through the images that had inspired me and worked toward a moment of contrast, I started floundering. Then I wrote a line that surprised me, and that helped me pause to start vaguely considering how the poem might unfold. I find that exploring these surprising moments can be so fruitful for creating a sense of completion or depth in a poem. So one point I started to consider was how to create that same sense of surprise for the reader. After a couple false starts, I decided to reserve that question for the poem's end and leave it without even an implied answer. But having made that decision, I knew I needed to add some more lines above it. It took me a few tries to figure out exactly where and how to add the ideas I needed to build up to that question. I didn't want the end of the poem to be at all obvious or heavy-handed. I was writing here to explore a mystery, not make a didactic point. Even though this poem was hard to finish, it demonstrates a really important aspect of my creative process. Having Mary Oliver's style in my head, having some inspiration around me, I spontaneously arranged a couple phrases in my mind, and these were the jumping off point for this poem. I think this is a skill anyone can learn. It takes reading lots of poetry, hopefully in different styles, and then being mindful of the remarkable moments you encounter. Taking a pause to try to put those impressions or feelings or ideas into whatever broken, incomplete phrases you can muster. These phrases can be the seed from which a whole poem grows. Honestly, writing with demanding distractions is hard. I think this poem would be better if I'd been able to give it my complete attention. But I'm proud that I got something on the page despite all the noise and chaos around me. Here's the first draft of something I'm calling Birdsong, written in about 35 minutes on March 7th, 2024. Birdsong. March begins. One morning, I stand on the back deck and count nests, papered with brown oak leaves, small enough for my cupped palm, shaggy with dry grass, barely visible behind the first brave buds. I try to count bird songs, but cannot parse their harmonies. The notes wash my hot ears. Daylily stalks pierce piled leaves. Over coffee, We talked politics. While early rain fell, we sighed, shook heads, tried to laugh. Now, my second cup heats my palm. I lose count of life. My skin burns with spring cold. I breathe. What is real? Thanks for watching this episode of Ars Poeticat. If you enjoyed watching poetry happen, please like and subscribe. Then go make some art.